Hey, Vaktanis, hey, that's Azerbaijani for hello. And yes, the F1 circus is finally heading to Baku after the long extended break because of the missing of the Chinese Grand Prix. And wow, I can't wait for this weekend. We've got a new schedule ahead of the first sprint race of the season. Now, we've just had the vote in today for and final updates. We knew all the teams was kind of agreed on a new sprint weekend format. It finally got voted through today, and we've got further details on that for you to share. But what a place to have it, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Finally, we've got back to racing, and we've got two races for this weekend. The sprint race that will still take place on Saturday, the main race on Sunday. But yeah, I absolutely love this circuit. We always get brilliant racing around this street circuit. It's not like Monaco where you just train around it. There's overtaking, there's incident. You know, last year we had a 1-2 for Red Bull, followed by the two Mercedes. 2 DNFs for the Ferraris, and who can forget 2021 where we had Max Verstappen stopping out on track and then Lewis hitting the magic button and going straight off. It was all action, and we always get that Azerbaijan, so I'm really looking forward to this weekend now that we're finally back at it. Christian Horner was actually the one that was not too happy about having a sprint circuit having Baku as a sprint circuit. You know, you absolutely hammer your cars around here, and to have two races here under the cost cap regime, you know, wasn't really too happy about that. But you know, I think they're always, like they were last year, really on the line with the cost cap finances, and so you should be. But to the sprint format, yes, so this weekend on Sunday, we'll start on Friday, so we're only going to get the one practice session for everybody in the teams to set up their cars. That's for the practice 1. On Friday, the practice 2 is disappearing. Everyone said that was kind of pointless. You were under Parc Fermé regulations, and it was, you know, it was more of a tyre test, and it was a waste of time. Now we're going to have the qualifying for Sunday's race on Friday. That'll be the normal qualifying format that we all know. The change really comes on Saturday, where we're going to have an early start for a sprint race qualifying, and they're calling it a shootout. It's a shorter than the format will still stay the same with 3 sections. There'll be shorter sections, though, with the final Q3 just being an 8-minute shootout. So pretty much just one lap you're going to fight it over in that session. So that will set the grid for the sprint race. You're still going to get the same 8 points for the sprint race, so that's not changing. But the result of the sprint race is just points now. You're not going to then set the grid for Sunday. They've said that potentially any penalties you do carry through for the sprint race, they will affect more likely grid places, and that will affect your positions potentially for the race. So there still is some jeopardy there, and that kind of that's a bit confusing for me, that, because the real reason that they wanted to go into having a sprint race and the splitting the two, effectively having a qualifying for the sprint and then the result and a separate qualifying for the race, because before we had the sprint race result setting the grid for the race, and people were a bit tentative, not really going for that overtake when there was an opportunity to do so. And they've kind of switched this format to try and get some more racing and get rid of that pointless practice 2 session where the teams were just saying, look, we just stood around bored. It's absolutely pointless having this session, and therefore now we should really spice up the sprint race for the weekends. Am I a fan? I think it's a better format. I'm not really overall. I've grown into the sprint races, but I'm more of a traditionalist with the qualifying and for the race, and I think we've kind of achieved that. Maybe a happy medium for the new fans and sort of like the old school like me, who are used to just one qualifying and the race. We are going to split this sort of. It looks like we might be then eventually heading for, would we have a sprint championship going down the line? Is that the route where we, you know, the end game is, or is this enough? I think this is probably as far as we should take the sprint races. Have it as just a pop-up event that happens at a couple of races over the year, and ultimately I think the points should be split differently. I don't think they should always count to the drivers' championship. I'd just being a traditionalist on that one. But you've got to have something to race for, and it's pointless in just flying around. and it's got to have some meaning, so I can understand why they've sort of gone for and stuck for that with the points on that one. So there we have it for this weekend. Then we've got the qualifying on the just bringing up the schedule for the weekend. So qualifying for the race on Friday will take place at 2 p.m. UK time. Saturday then we'll have an early start at 9:30 for the sprint race. Shootout is what they're calling the qualifying for the sprint race. The sprint race will then play later in the day at 2:30, and then the race itself will take place at 12 p.m. On the Sunday. Now, the grid penalties and all that sort of stuff will all affect the sprint races. So if you have an issue in qualifying, that will only affect your sprint race positions, and it's the same for qualifying for Friday. That will only affect your Sunday. So they are sort of splitting the two now, which is quite good to see. I quite like that element of it. Some updates ahead of this weekend though for Mercedes. There's a change in personnel. James Vowell is now the new technical director. He's effectively switched roles back down. He was the chief technical officer. Mike Elliott now is going to move up into that role. James Ellison going back in that role. The team have said the reason for that is that they believe, or they feel that James Ellison is better at driving in-season performance. And so that's why they've made that switch. They bring in some upgrades. They've said around the suspension part, so there's going to be a small updates to that. And they're hoping that'll help with the drivability of this new Mercedes and hopefully push them further up the grid. But let's see how that plays out. All looking forward and excited to see how this new sprint qualifying plays out. I do think it's better the way they've done it. But only time will tell, and what a place to do it at Baku. It's an absolutely brilliant circuit. I love it. And I'd like to go one day. I think that's one circuit where when you look at it, you think, look at the way the buildings are and everything. Like, absolutely looks magnificent. I've never heard of it before. The F1 circus turned up there. So let's see how it goes on. So I'll follow you. You'll hear me up on Friday with more of the results from qualifying. Watch out for that video. Really looking forward to finally get back into some racing. It's been a really long break, but I'll see you Friday. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe and comment. I'll see you in the next video.